yes, here to reflect, and it's indeed a very challenging year to do it. But today we are also here to be inspired, to get some hope, to learn about the resilience of this great man that sits in front of you. So I urge you, as you hear Arnold's testimony tonight, think of everything that it gives you, the power that it gives you for us to move on.
They were shot or they were drowned, I don't know. The bodies kept bumping into our little boat. The owner of the boat says, "I've had enough. I'm not taking you anymore." He dropped us off and we started walking again towards Covenant. When we came to Covenant, the outskirts, we were stopped by a German patrol. They had with him a Lithuanian collaborator. And the Lithuanian collaborators had little armbands indicating they're part of the help to the Germans. They searched us, and the Lithuanian officer says to the Germans, "Search them real well, because you cannot trust these Jews." The other day, he says, I ran into a rabbi. He had a basket with eggs. And when I took the eggs apart, I found a gun. Only 8 years old. I know the guy is lying from here to there. A rabbi wouldn't know a gun from a pen. They locked us up. They locked us up in a place which was called the 7th Fort. It was part of the Tsar's army barracks during World War I. They took us in a large room, brick building, and we were all guarded by Lithuanians. One day my father runs into the barrack where I was, and he says, "I have to hide you immediately." He knew the layout of the camp, so he knew there was an opening on top of the second bunk. He opened it up, took me and a couple more kids, I think there were 3 or 4 kids, he shoved us all on top of the loft, closed it, and I looked through the cracks of the wood what was happening. Several trucks came in, Germans. They started dragging out children and old people and throwing them in the trucks. This was to me like a scene from hell. Little children who couldn't get on top of the truck. The Germans would grab a hold of an arm, a leg, pick them up, and throw them into the truck. The screaming was unbelievable. The entire selection maybe took an hour. My father came back and took us out from the hiding place. That evening, when all the parents came back from work, and they didn't find the children, you can't imagine what went on in the camp. Some had complaints to my father, "Why didn't you save my child?" Couldn't. No place, not enough time. From that day, I didn't stay in the camp. They dressed me up in a long coat. And in the morning when we went out to work, I was usually between adults to hide, and we walked out. I did all kinds of work on the outside. One of them was to sort out shoes from German soldiers who were killed in the war. So I had to make the right foot and the left foot together. And we were warned that if I had lousy shoes at that time, we were warned if I get a pair of shoes for myself, they would shoot me. I couldn't help it. I had to take a pair of shoes. I mean, I couldn't walk. I was growing already. The shoes which I had were too little on me. Anyway, they didn't catch me. Then they decided to liquidate this camp. They took us on a long walk. We did not know where we were walking to. We had to cross a river, big river. One of the persons in our big marching group was sure that we were being taken to be killed. He wasn't going to have it. He ran out from the column, he jumped on the railing, and he yelled out, "Shema Yisrael," and he jumped into the river. I saw him floating, and they were shooting at him, and then I didn't see him anymore. They took us to a train, loaded us up. We were on the train for a couple of days. It stopped, and they took out all the women and separated us from the men. 2 weeks later, we were told to line up outside of the barrack. And by the way, the way it worked in Birkenau, they counted us twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. If the figure didn't measure what they counted and how much supposed to be in the barrack, we could stand there for hours until they found a dead body in the barrack. Otherwise, they wouldn't let us in. Anyway, we get lined up. Now we're 129 boys. 2 of them left the train. And I realized it was a selection to kill us. I used to put in sand in my shoes to make me a little bit taller. The one who did the selection was Mengele. He comes to the boy next to me, and he had gloves. And the way he went with the gloves, a scribe behind him would quickly write down the tattoo. It meant to be killed. Now he comes to me. He says, "How old are you?" I says, "I'm 14. He says, "You're a liar." Takes his gloves and hits me over the face. "Oh no," I said, "Really, I'm 14. He says, "Drop your pants." I took off my pants. "Now, take off your shirt." I took off my shirt. And he says, "Turn around." I turned around. He says, "How come you're so dark?" I said, "I only have one shirt. When it's a hot day, the sun is out, I want to preserve that shirt, so this is how I got a suntan." I don't know if he liked my suntan or he liked my answer. I have no idea. He just passed me by and took the guy next to me to be killed. This is how close I was to being taken out by Mengele to be killed. Went back into the barracks. He says, "These are Jews. Take them to another camp." German, the Wehrmacht officer says, "We don't have enough trains to take the wounded from the front inland, and you're wasting trains to drag Jews to a camp." The SS officer said, "If you don't shut your mouth, you're going to join them in the train." Finally, after another 4 or 5 days, the train stopped, took us out, marched us again. It was uphill. It was in Austria, and the camp was known as Mauthausen. I was there again, a short period of time. They took me out and put me in another camp called Zeltenlager. The camp was all made out of huge tents, about 1,000 people in a tent. No bunk beds, no nothing. You just go down on the floor, and that's where you sleep. Food, forget it. One evening, I decided to leave that tent and go to a next tent. Why? Because most of my friends were in the other tent. As I go out of the tent, it was late in the afternoon, evening, an SS officer comes and he says, "Where are you going?" I was not going to have a conversation with him. I turned around and started running. He took out a gun and shot after me. I could hear the bullets whistling behind my ear, one after the other. He missed me. I ran into the tent where I was, and I said to some people, "Hide me real quick." They put some blankets over me. There was only one big, small bulb in the whole tent. So the SS officer came on looking for me. He couldn't find me. And there were so many dead people in the tent that the smell was awful. He just walked out. So the irony was that night was another air raid. And the tent that I wanted to go to was bombed, and many people were killed. In the morning, there were pieces of bodies hanging on the outside. And this was cannibalism. We were so hungry that some people cut off pieces. So we used to discuss. Otherwise, look, I grew up in the U.S. where I didn't have any friends from the Holocaust. I was busy studying. I wasn't in the American military. This is, by the way, a promise that I made myself when I was liberated. One day I'm going to be an officer in the United States Army. And I made it.
Bravo.
What can we learn? What can we learn? What's your life lesson?
I look at my son,
I'm just amazed,
the tall
impressed.
guy there, and my daughter, and I say to myself, I survived, I won the war. This is life. You have grandchildren. Life has to go on. And as we say here in Israel, Am Yisrael Chai, we just go on. Lesson to survivors. Yeah, you survived, be happy. Not many of us made it. And why we survived, I questioned myself. Why did I now? In second grade before the war, we were 30 kids. Only 2 survived. Why am I so special out of 30 kids to survive? I don't know the answer. But I believed in Hashem. Still do.